Today on Go Island, it's all about the upcoming 5th annual Parksville Uncorked event here in Oceanside. It's running this weekend. Today on Go Island, growing food at Nanaimo's Wellington Secondary School, a street survival guide in Victoria, and higher learning with Melanie Panetta. That and more today on Go Island. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. I'm Kate Bergen, and today we are at the Beach Club in Parksville. This is one of several venues for the 5th annual Parksville Uncorked. It runs this weekend, and it is a premier event in the Oceanside area. We're going to do a little wine sampling and some beer sampling later on this edition of Go Island. And it looks like those ladies over there, I need to be joining them. So while I work my way over there and see what they've got pouring today, we're going to throw things over to Annette Lucas. Wellington Secondary School is now 1 year into their aquaponic growing system. We're going to check in to see how things are going. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. We're here at the Beach Club in Parksville with a little sneak taste, I should say, into the upcoming 5th annual Parksville Uncorked. Now, the event is actually, Parksville Uncorked is an umbrella title for about 3 or 4 different events. What is involved with Parksville Uncorked?
Yeah, so Parksville Uncorked was started 5 years ago, and we started as a destination marketing tool for Oceanside. So we partnered with Tigh and some of the other stakeholders in the area, and we've created a wine festival that includes events over a 3-day weekend.
Okay, so there's a focus on wine. That's the swirl.
Yes, that's on the Friday night.
On the Friday night. There's Untapped, which focuses on beer. That's on the
Thursday night.
And then there's a winemaker's dinner, which is already sold out. So too bad, so sad you missed that. And then Bubbles on the Beach on Sunday.
Exactly.
Now, how many vendors, how many wines will be represented?
So we have anywhere from 23 to 27 wineries, and we have about 10 to 15 food vendors over the weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's great for Oceanside.
Now, I asked Shawna on the phone, I said, we're going to come, we're going to visit you, and we need to pick 1 or 2 wines, and you went, how could we possibly pick just 1 or 2? But we did, Muse, and there's a story behind that
We did.
wine.
We picked Muse because they're actually new to the wine festival this year, and the owners of the winery, Peter and Jane Elman, there's kind of a little bit of a story. Muse was named because Peter named Jane his muse, so there's a bit of a romantic story behind that, but I can't tell it as good as he does, so I'll leave that to him. But yeah, we thought we'd start with that wine.
Okay, and now I'm not a wine expert. You are. if I can be. So we swirl it, right? That's the whole concept. And what should we be smelling for?
So yeah, this is the Fumé Blanc, and when you have a little bit, get the nose off that, you're going to see that you get some green apples, some lemongrass off of that.
I can't say that I do, but yes. And what are we tasting? Yeah,
so when you let the air go through your mouth with the wine, again, to me, there's a bigger hint of green apple now. You really get it on your tongue, right? This will go well with your Arctic char, your prawns, really heavy, like a lobster or a prawn bisque. It's going to suit rich seafood flavors really nicely.
Have I said lately that I love my job? Thank you, Shawna. There's a red as well with the Muse. What can you tell me about this one?
So this Muse is the Cabernet Merlot, and it's called Seal the Deal. Okay, this one is quite a big boy. Okay, it's quite a big, rich wine. It's got some pepper, tobacco, but I mean, every nose has a different smell off it, so you get your own nose off it. See what you get.
What do you get?
Like
pepper?
Right off the top, yeah, you get the pepper, but the blackberry. It's a yummy smelling.
And it always takes a couple of sips past the taste bud to actually get a full flavor of it, right?
Exactly. So this is going to pair nicely with your really rich meats, French foods, any rich creamy sauces. Both these wines actually are going to pair both with really rich foods.
What is it that people love about this event? So I have attended the event last year, and everyone's excited to be there. The energy in the room is huge. There are people everywhere. There are vendors everywhere. There's food everywhere. There's wine everywhere, and people just feel like they're in their element.
Yeah.
And what is it that people experience? Do you think?
I think it's an event. I think everyone likes a reason to get dressed up and go out. There's lots of dinners going on in the community, but there's not a lot of events where you have this kind of exposure. So I think for everybody, it's an event to go out, and it's a 3-day weekend, so you get to make a weekend out of it.
And it says a lot that you're getting so so many wine reps to the event. I mean, it's a lot of work for them to come to a location, bring their products with them, set up, and they're there ready to interact with people.
You know, Vancouver is doing so well producing wine that we have a waiting list to get on the wineries right now. So I mean, you know, that just says what Vancouver is doing. They're really getting a lot of exposure for their wines.
Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, so this is one of my favorites. This is exciting. So this is Broekhuizen has actually done our winemakers dinner for the past 5 years.
They've been on board since day one.
They have. So we're going to give them a little bit of exposure here. This is pretty neat. This was launched last year at our winemakers dinner, and it's called the Broekhuizen.
Okay.
And it's made from 100% of Syrah grapes. Okay. And it's a fortified red wine.
Okay.
This, I think, is the biggest treat you'll have, and the reason the chocolate's here is it pairs very well with chocolate. So
is there chocolate in
there
here?
Isn't. No.
Okay.
But just the pairing. It'll be with our dessert for the winemakers. So.
Okay. Are you jealous?
A little bit.
Derek says behind the camera, just a little bit. We'll save you some.
No. Isn't that delicious? So now, the best thing to do is to take a piece of the chocolate and actually put it in your mouth, and then actually right after swirl the Broekhuizen right after.
Right after, okay,
yes.
If you say so.
I'm forcing her to eat chocolate.
If Shawna says so, this is what you have to do and the best thing to do. And I am putting some of the fruit on there.
Now I'm really jealous.
Oh. And I'm going to go to the gym later. Okay.
Doesn't that pair nicely?
I'm done for the day. We're going to take a short break. We'll come back.
Thanks,
This
Kate.
is good. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. I'm Kate Bergen, and in case you haven't noticed, we are no longer at the Beach Club Resort. We've moved to the Nanaimo Resort here in Parksville. This is a partner venue for the upcoming Parksville Uncorked. It runs this weekend, and on Thursday night, it's all about the beer. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later on this edition of Go Island. But up next, Nikki Iwanishin. How will a street survival guide for Victoria's homeless help end the cycle of homelessness? Still ahead today on Go Island, can a street survival guide stop the cycle of homelessness in Victoria? And Melanie Panetta as an aqua trainer. That and more still ahead today on Go. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. We're here behind the bar at the Copper Lounge at the Nanaimo Resort in Parksville. That's Bryan Stokes. He is the director of food and beverage here. And we're talking beer because Parksville Untapped is coming up on Thursday night. What is this?
This is Stanley Parks. This is their amber ale.
Is this a rare beer? Is it
relatively rare? Stanley Park is relatively new to the scene. Their brewery is 100% sustainable. They've actually sent their brewmaster to Belgium to learn the classic styles.
I gotta have a sip now.
So this beer is made from the primary ingredients of water, barley, and hops. So it's a very, very traditional Belgian ale.
Okay. Now it's really hard when we're talking about wine. We were over at the Beach Club earlier talking about things with swirl. All of that wine's on hand, but for Untapped, most of the vendors are bringing their product with them.
Correct. So for swirl, for example, we all have wine cellars. You're carrying lots of wines in hand, so you can pull stuff out and you can sample and you can talk about it. For Untapped, for example, we have 20 different breweries that are going to be here pouring over 70 different beers. So for that, we don't have 70 different taps on hand. So we kind of have what we have, and you kind of go for a mix there.
Is it the same people? Who comes to Tapped? And do people who love wine also love beer? Is there more of a crossover now?
You're certainly starting to see a crossover. I mean, it is changing. You know, craft beer markets are really taking off. You're starting to see a lot of interest. You know, your events like this traditionally would be a big excuse to go out and drink and consume large amounts of alcohol, where now you're starting to see the festivals on beer become more of an educational component. Let's come out and let's drink and let's sample, let's talk to the beer vendors and let's talk about how the beer was made, how they brewed it, that sort of thing. So you're certainly seeing a similar crowd. You know, you're certainly people coming for the education as much as they do for wine and for the beer.
We were talking about education a little bit earlier and the tasting notes. And so you can go around with tasting notes, and as I'm drinking this, I might not know what is the dominant flavor because I'm not educated in that department, but the tasting notes can help guide me to then develop my palate and recognize for myself what I'm tasting.
Absolutely. So when you get an opportunity to talk to the vendors and you're out there and you're trying your different beers, for example, if you're having a nice wheat beer, they may tell you, you're going to get flavors of coriander, you're going to get hints of orange, and you'll sample that. And when you think about it, you start tasting it, and you can start recognizing those flavors. So then you get it at other beverages as well. So much like wine, when someone comes in and you're trying a Chardonnay, and you're saying, oh, you'll notice, hints of oak in here if it's an oaky Chardonnay, and you're going to start thinking about that. So when you start trying other Chardonnays, you're going to recognize whether the oak was present, whether it was not present, whether it was overpowering or not, and beer is much the same way. You're having a stout, you may get some chocolate flavors in there, smoky flavors, and you start to recognize it.
We're talking about beer.
Yeah.
We've mentioned a lot of wine. There's this middle zone, cider. How does that fit in, and where does that fit in?
That's a good question. Cider is another market out there, so it's sort of, an alcoholized beer, I guess, with a lot more fruit flavors. And yeah, cider sort of fits in the middle ground, I guess,
And there'll be some of that on tap.
There definitely will.
Yeah.
We have Marydale cider that will be there pouring some of their ciders. I believe we have some other ciders that are going to be present as well. And basically, traditionally it started out, I guess, as a sort of a softer beer for women, and now it really takes off, and people are doing beer and cider blended drinks together, and cider is becoming a quite popular beverage.
I'm going to throw another question out there. I
Sure.
didn't warn you that this one was coming, but there's maybe a sense of snobbery. You sort of go around this event and you smell and you taste, and maybe a little bit of intimidation, to go up and talk to one of the vendors to say, what am I supposed to be tasting?
Yeah.
And it's okay to do that. You don't need to feel, I don't need to feel like an idiot
in
that process.
There's no rules.
Right.
You go to a tasting, and you know what? You can either talk to them, you can not talk to them. People know what they like. Some people just like lagers, and they're going to go around and, do you have a lager? Do you have a lager? Do you have a lager? And they're going to find the lagers, and you taste it. And that's the great thing about it. You taste something, you know what you like.
Right.
If you want to know more details about, sometimes what am I tasting that maybe I'm not thinking about, there's people there that you can ask questions to. You know, at the end of the day, there's going to be entertainment. We have Luke Blue Guthrie, who's going to be playing, sort of a Kentucky bluegrass entertainer. So you know what, if you just want to come and enjoy the music and enjoy the food component of it as well, and enjoy some drinks, and that's really what it's all about as well.
Thanks, Bryan.
No problem. Thank you.
I'm there. I want to be there. These stories are hard to do because I want the event to be happening right now. You can get your tickets to Untapped up until about 4 o'clock on Thursday, and you can contact the Nanaimo to do that. We're going to throw things over now to Melanie Panetta. She's trying her hand at an aqua trainer. Cheers. That brings us to the end of this edition of Go Island. Parksville Uncorked runs Thursday through Sunday at both the Nanaimo Resort and the Beach Club Resort in Parksville. You can get full details on their website. And the one thing we haven't talked about yet is Bubbles and Brunch. It takes place here on Sunday. Thanks for watching this edition of Go Island. We'll see you next time. Cheers.